Imagine this. Breaking news. Just hits, maybe it's a natural disaster, maybe some huge surprising event. You grab your phone, you start scrolling through your feed, and bam, you're just hit with photos, shaky videos, really dramatic accounts, often conflicting ones.
Yeah, instantly.
And your finger is kind of hovering over that share button, but then, that little question pops up. How do you know what's actually real? How do you sort the truth from just noise?
It's the constant challenge, isn't it, in this networked world? Information comes at us so fast from everywhere, and figuring out what to trust, it feels like a full-time job sometimes.
Exactly. And that's precisely what we're diving into today on The Deep Dive. We're tackling really one of the most essential skills for anyone living today, how to verify information, especially when things are moving fast, when the stakes are high. We're drawing our insights from a really groundbreaking guide, the Verification Handbook. It's become like a fundamental text for anyone trying to navigate this modern information mess.
Yeah, it really has. And our mission today really is to equip you listening with the mindset and also the basic techniques to confidently tell fact from fiction.
Right.
Think of it as maybe a shortcut to being truly well-informed. We'll pack it with some surprising facts, some practical advice you can use straight away.
Okay, let's unpack this then. I mean, the sheer amount of information, it is overwhelming, no doubt about it. But here's where I think it gets really interesting. The challenge itself, misinformation, isn't totally new, right?
No, not at all.
But the tools we have now, and just the scale, that feels fundamentally different.
That's a really crucial distinction. Rumors, misinformation, they're not just a digital thing. They're almost like a fundamental human truth in crises, rooted in anxiety, uncertainty. I mean, think about the 1934 India earthquake. This was way before the internet, obviously. False reports spread like wildfire, 4,000 buildings collapsed, innumerable deaths. It just shows, that human tendency to fill the gaps is ancient.
So, okay, if it's not new, what did the internet really change? Did it just turn up the volume, or are there totally new dynamics at play?
That's a great question. I think the biggest shift is how mobile tech and social media have basically turned all of us into potential, accidental journalists.
Accidental journalists. I like that.
Yeah. Anyone, right place, right time with a smartphone, they can capture a moment and share it instantly, globally. Think about that incredible picture of the U.S. Airways plane on the Hudson River.
Oh, yeah, unforgettable.
That came from a bystander. Just someone with a phone.
Yeah.
So user-generated content, or UGC, it gives us these invaluable real-time glimpses that, traditional news crews often can't get.
But the stakes involved here, they can be incredibly high. In emergencies, getting it wrong, inaccuracy, it can literally be a matter of life and death.
Absolutely.
The handbook talks about this awful example from just Nigeria where fake text messages actually incited real violence. It's chilling. Shows the real-world impact.
It really does. Debunking a false rumor can quite literally save lives. And this brings us to what might sound like a counterintuitive idea, but it's the core philosophy of verification. Radical skepticism.
Radical skepticism.
Yeah. Your default setting essentially has to be, this is incorrect until I can prove otherwise. It's not about being cynical. It's just the bedrock of finding genuine truth in all this noise.
Assuming everything's wrong until proven right. That sounds, frankly, exhausting. How does that actually work? Practically, how does it change how you look at things?
It's about cultivating this deep questioning habit. And the handbook has this brilliant little story, this anecdote about a high school basketball game.
Okay.
Years later, they asked people who were there, these honest witnesses, right? And they all remembered this key turning point play happening 3 or 4 times. Exaggerated memories. But it only happened once. It just highlights this profound human thing. Even honest memory is unreliable, it gets distorted. So the real takeaway for today, documentation, not just testimony, is your gold standard. Especially when anyone can share anything instantly.
Documentation over testimony.
Yeah.
Got it. So when you see a piece of information, what are those golden questions you should always ask yourself?
The handbook really nails it down to 2 essential ones. First, how do you know that?
Okay.
And then maybe even more crucial, how else do you know that?
The L's.
Yeah. It pushes you to look for more sources, corroboration. It gets that critical thinking muscle working, which is valuable for everyone, not just, pro fact checkers.
All right, so now we get why this skepticism is so vital. Let's get practical. Let's talk about the how.
Yeah.
You're staring at this flood of user-generated stuff, photos, videos. How do you actually start sorting the real from the fake?
Right.
The handbook gives this really strong, systematic way to do it, built on 4 key pillars for checking UGC.
Exactly. Pillar number 1 is provenance. Basically, is it original?
Provenance. Okay.
Is this the first version you're seeing? Or is it a copy? Is it the authentic, untouched piece of content? Where did it actually start?
And for pictures, I guess this is where things like Google Image Search or TinEye come in super handy.
Absolutely. Your best friends, you do a reverse image search, try to find earlier copies, maybe higher resolution ones. That often points you back towards the original source.
Right.
The handbook also mentions metadata, that's like hidden digital info inside files. EXIF data in photos, for instance, might tell you the camera or the time it was taken.
But there's a catch, isn't there?
Huge catch. Social media platforms, they usually strip all that data out, which makes tracking the origin much, much harder. It's a real challenge.
So that stripping of metadata is a big hurdle.
Definitely. And a classic example of why provenance matters is that whole Typhoon Usagi apology thing. Remember that?
Vaguely, yeah.
This guy tweeted a photo his wife sent him, claimed it was Typhoon Usagi hitting Hong Kong. But a quick reverse image search showed it was an old photo, completely mislabeled from a totally different storm ages before Usagi.
Wow. Okay, so always check the provenance first. Makes total sense.
Yes.
Once you've tried that, what's pillar number 2?
Pillar 2 is source. Who actually created it? The ultimate goal here, ideally, is to find and actually talk to the original person who uploaded it.
So you become a bit of a digital detective.
Exactly. You're piecing together their profile from their sort of online traces, their digital footprint.
And what does that footprint look like? What are you searching for?
You look at their profile, see if it's consistent, what's their activity history like, do they link to other websites, who are their friends or followers, does it all add up? You know, does it make sense for them to be there at that time sharing that content?
Right, building a picture.
And if you can find them, you ask direct questions. The handbook suggests things like, okay, where exactly were you standing? What could you see from there? What kind of phone or camera did you use?
Trying to cross-reference their story with the actual image or video.
Precisely. It helps you verify their account against the evidence you have.
There's that great story about the stolen Batmobile rumor, too.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Some website reported it, citing, unnamed sources in Detroit.
Okay.
But someone checked the author's profile. It turned out he was based in London.
London, not Detroit.
Nope. And there was zero corroborating evidence from any local Detroit news. A few quick calls to the police there, boom, debunked. It just shows, even for seemingly fun stories, check the source's track record, check their location. It's crucial.
All right, provenance source. What's pillar 3?
Pillar 3, date. When was this actually created? And this one, this can be really tough. We've all seen old stuff pop up again, like brand new, right?
Oh, yeah, constantly. That's the big challenge. So what clues can you look for inside the content itself?
Yeah, absolutely. You scan for things like clocks in the background, maybe a newspaper page lying around, even a TV screen that might show a date or time.
Little background details.
Exactly. But you can also use external tools. Wolfram Alpha is amazing for this.
Wolfram Alpha. How does that help?
It's this computational knowledge engine. You can use it to check historical weather data for a specific place and date.
No, fabric.
So if the video shows bright sunshine, but Wolfram Alpha says it was pouring rain that day, well, that's a huge red flag. It helps corroborate visual clues like sunlight, shadows, things that depend on the time of day.
That's really smart. And the handbook points out something surprising about YouTube timestamps too, doesn't it?
Yes. This catches people out all the time. YouTube uses Pacific Standard Time, PST, for its timestamps.
Always. Regardless of where the video was uploaded.
Regardless. So this can make a video look like it was uploaded before an event actually happened, especially if the event was, say, in the Middle East or Europe. Wow.
It happened with a video connected to the Syrian chemical weapons attack. Caused massive confusion. It's a small detail, but if you don't know about it, you might dismiss perfectly real footage.
Good to know. Okay, provenance, source, date. What's the final pillar?
Pillar 4 is location. Where was it created? Turns out only a tiny percentage of content is automatically geotagged. So mostly it takes good old-fashioned human detective work. You got to be a digital map expert.
Right. This is where tools like Google Maps and Street View really come into their own.
Totally. Google Maps, Google Street View, Google Earth. especially Google Earth's historical satellite imagery feature. It's incredibly powerful. You can virtually drop yourself onto a street corner and compare what you see there to the video or photo you're examining. Match buildings, landmarks.
And you're also looking for clues in the content again, right? Like street signs.
Exactly. Distinctive buildings, street signs, license plates, the type of landscape or terrain. Even listening for accents or dialects in videos can give you clues about the location. The Boston bombing verification is a prime example of this, isn't it?
Perfect example. Investigators meticulously cross-referenced Google Street View images with the perspective shown in a runner's video. They could pinpoint the exact location of the blast, even identifying specific athletes who appeared in both the video and other photos taken nearby.
Wow. It's like piecing together a really complex puzzle.
It really is, using every scrap of data you can find.
So we've walked through the individual steps, these 4 pillars, but just the sheer amount of information flying around. It feels like individuals alone can't possibly keep up. We need to talk about the power of the crowd, right? Both people and machines helping out.
That's absolutely right. Crowdsourcing isn't just about gathering raw stuff anymore. It's actually incredibly powerful for the verification process itself.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, think about Andy Carvin's work during the Arab Spring. He basically created this Twitter newsroom.
Right, I remember reading about that.
He built these huge networks of trusted sources on the ground, organized them into Twitter lists, and then actively engaged with them to help check facts, debunk rumors in real time.
And didn't he have that example about weapons in Libya?
Yes. There was this rumor going around about Israeli weapons being used. Carvin put it out to his network, and very quickly people with expertise chimed in. Turned out the weapon wasn't Israeli at all, it was Indian.
Amazing, just leveraging that distributed human knowledge.
Exactly, and he really stressed treating these sources like colleagues, not just, tools to be used, building relationships.
That makes sense.
And there's another fantastic case study in the handbook, the tripped up by Arabic grammar incident.
Ooh, tell me about that.
This network, Shabab Syria Syrian collaborators, using online tools, they debunked a fake jihadist recruitment video in less than 3 hours.
3 hours? How?
Multiple people jumped in. They spotted subtle grammatical errors in the speaker's Arabic that a native speaker wouldn't make. Someone else recognized the uploader's history. They consistently posted pro-Assad propaganda.
Ah, the source pillar again.
Exactly. And crucially, there was zero corroborating evidence anywhere else online. It just shows how human collaboration, tapping into specialized knowledge like language skills, can verify things incredibly quickly.
That's seriously impressive. Human collaboration is powerful. But like you said, the volume, it's just immense. That's where machines come in, right? The computer crowd.
Precisely. It's not about replacing humans, but augmenting them, supercharging our efforts. We're seeing advanced computing machine learning, AI playing a bigger role in assisting verification.
What does that look like?
Well, one example is the credibility plugin developed for Twitter. It tries to rate tweets based on how likely they are to be accurate. It looks at factors like how long the tweet is, the sentiment expressed, whether it uses hashtags, things like that, to give a sort of credibility score.
Interesting. So it's trying to automate some of that initial assessment?
Kind of, yeah. And then you have these really powerful hybrid approaches combining human intelligence with machine power. Platforms like ADAR, that's artificial intelligence for disaster response. They use humans for microtasking, basically training the AI algorithms to spot patterns associated with rumors during crises. This makes the whole process faster and way more scalable.
So humans teach the machines what to look for.
Exactly. And a great success story for this human-machine teamwork is OpenStreetMap, especially during Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines.
What happened there?
You had thousands of human volunteers online working alongside automated tools to rapidly map the areas that were damaged. They created this incredibly detailed, up-to-the-minute map database.
And who used that?
Major aid organizations on the ground, the Red Cross, Médecins Sans Frontières, they relied on those maps generated by this hybrid crowd to actually guide their relief efforts, figure out where help was needed most. It's that combination human effort plus tech assist that really makes verification work at scale.
Okay, so after digging into all these methods, the pillars, the crowds, what's the big takeaway for you listening right now? It seems to boil down to one really critical thing. You can't just figure this out on the fly when a crisis hits.
No, absolutely not. Preparedness is everything.
Preparedness.
Exactly.
Right.
Look at organizations like NHK, Japan's public broadcaster. They live with the constant threat of earthquakes and tsunamis, right? So they prepare.
How so?
They have daily training drills. They've got a network of 500 robot cameras monitoring cities, coastlines, power plants, and they have a dedicated social listening team whose whole job is to monitor social media during emergencies, using pre-vetted lists of reliable sources on Twitter to verify information in real time.
Wow. They're ready before it happens.
They have to be.
Yeah.
So the lesson for any organization, or even just for you personally, is have a plan. Know who your authoritative sources are before you need them. Build relationships with reliable contacts if you can.
Get your toolkit and your trusted network ready before the chaos.
Precisely. And we also need to touch on navigating hoaxes and the risks involved. The handbook outlines common types of fakes we see all the time.
Like what?
Well, there are the real photos used out of context. Remember during Hurricane Sandy, that image of soldiers guarding the tomb of the unknown soldier in the storm?
Yeah, very powerful image.
Powerful, but it was actually taken a month earlier in different weather. It wasn't during Sandy at all.
Ah, okay. Classic example.
And then there are the outright photoshopped images, like the infamous Hurricane Sandy street shark.
The shark.
A total fake. It was a clever manipulation, taking a real photo of a shark fin and pasting it onto a picture of a flooded street in Puerto Rico, I think.
And it's just shocking how easily those things spread, isn't it?
Incredibly easy. Which brings up another point. Beyond just spotting the fake, there's the issue of minimizing harm. This is a big ethical question. What about content that is real, but sharing it could actually cause harm?
That's a tough one. What do you mean?
Well, think about situations with vulnerable people or in conflict zones. Sharing an authentic video might, maybe inadvertently, put someone at risk of retaliation or social stigma if their face is shown.
Right. So what can you do?
The handbook mentions practical steps like blurring identities. YouTube actually has a built-in face blur tool you can use.
Okay.
But it also lays down a really clear ultimate rule for these gray areas. If in doubt, don't use the image or footage.
If in doubt, leave it out. That's a stark but probably necessary guideline.
It has to be sometimes. And finally, there's one more crucial aspect, often overlooked: coping with the trauma of seeing some of this stuff.
Yeah, that's huge, especially for people who have to sift through graphic content regularly.
Absolutely. Whether you're a journalist, an aid worker, an investigator, anyone dealing with distressing images or videos needs to think about their own well-being. It's vital.
What kind of advice does the handbook offer?
Some really practical tips. Think of exposure, like radiation. Minimize it when you can. Don't watch graphic content repeatedly if you don't absolutely have to. Maybe adjust your viewing environment, like turning the sound off. Yeah. Often, the audio is actually more disturbing than the visuals.
That's a good point.
Take frequent breaks. Step away from the screen. And critically, develop a deliberate self-care plan.
A self-care plan?
Yeah. It's tempting to just push through, especially on a big story. But you need that breathing space outside of work. Keep up hobbies, see friends, invest time in your social connections. That builds resilience against trauma-related stress.
That's really important advice. Okay, so we've really covered a lot of ground here. We've journeyed through this whole landscape of information verification, from that basic radical skepticism all the way to advanced tools, crowdsourcing, and these critical ethical questions. I think the big takeaway is that verifying information isn't just for journalists anymore. It's a critical skill for literally everyone.
It really is.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Well, in a world just drowning in information, being able to pick out the truth, it's not just about being informed in some abstract way. It's about making better decisions in your own life, understanding the world more clearly.
And sometimes, like we saw, potentially even saving lives.
Exactly. So the next time you encounter that striking image, that breaking news alert on your feed, just pause for a second. Ask yourself, okay, how do they know that? And maybe try applying some of the tools, and especially the mindset that we've talked about today. Who knows what new insights you might uncover?